said your name was Ivan.
Mm-hmm.
Are you friends with Mark Guillory?
Well, I don't know anybody that's friends with Mark Guillory.
I think I've met you.
Oh, what's your name?
Jenny Strumfeld.
My gosh, yeah, I'm real good friends with Mark Guillory.
Yeah, I knew that.
I used to be.
Yeah.
Wow. So
used to be?
When's the last time you were in contact with?
I saw Laura because my kids I coach, so I'm in Sitka. I was at a track meet.
Oh.
So I saw her, in Laura mode. We met for a dog walk. She was taking care of like 5 other dogs.
Wow.
In April.
Wow.
April. Yeah, or maybe it was May. Yeah.
What do you think of that Raisy going to the Coast Guard Academy?
I'm not surprised. One of them went to her alma mater. The other went to his alma mater.
And how do you know those two?
Our kids, I met them through the preschool. Raisy and Tava were playmates with my kids.
Yeah.
And Laura and I were at home taking care of the kids, and we'd get out. Oh, we'll meet you at this trail. Meet you at this trail.
Yeah.
So.
It's funny because it goes to show how old I am. Mark used to bring Raisy over to my house. When Laura went, I think, to the gym.
Maybe so.
I think it was usually on the weekend.
Probably.
And Raisy cried.
Yes.
I mean, she cried about everything. And she worked on that crying. But yeah, it was so funny.
Oh yeah, in the sleepy chair or whatever.
She had to be in that chair. Oh yeah. Well, see now, back in April, we had a get together down at my place in Oregon. Mark came and a bunch of our friends that are also. Are you from Sitka? Do you have what? Okay. Well, anyway. It's like everybody there except me was a pilot in the Coast Guard. And so a bunch of guys that had been in Sitka and, Coast Guard stuff.
Demonstration here if you want to see this, but we'll be doing many of them, so this is not your only chance.
All right.
Yeah, well, maybe you need to get your pilot's license.
Well, yeah, I could be a pilot, couldn't I?
Actually good. Thank you. Really good.
So tell me your name again.
Jenny Strumfeld.
I should probably watch this.
Yeah, you better.
I went to go help the lady, but she said she'll meet me around back.
Oh, go watch that.
Which we will end up using, but it's not, it won't be part of the actual
Thanks.
You got a GoPro too. That's cool.
And I just start going through and I'm starting to cut. The ribs at this point. You see that? So it's starting to cut the ribs. And so now's the point where I'm making really sure again that I'm going right along the backbone, but also being careful not to dip through it, because when that happens, then things get a little bit more difficult, because all of a sudden you kind of broke it through there. So I'm just going to and this takes a little bit of oomph, and so I angle the knife instead of being flat like this. I angle it like this just to give my power a little bit better chance here. And so I'm just kind of putting it forward, making sure, and just kind of running along. You can hear it, just kind of cutting through those ribs, and then I'm just going to go like this. And most of the time I put that on it, so it's exactly like that. And then, so that's how that is to start off with. Beautiful, gorgeous, and then you'll notice, of course, different thicknesses of different blades. And so this is a lot of fillet knives. You'll see they're the narrow ones. I like to use the fatter ones for that first bit, and sometimes I'll just keep using the fatter ones the entire way, like right now. I will go ahead and usually will remove the collar. And again, there's so many different ways of doing this. and usually, I brought my own personal smoker. It's a 5-rack front-loading smoker that you'll see it got set down somewhere over here, and so it's got a bunch of racks that we just kind of set the fish on, set chunks of fish on. Welcome, Chris Gabe, everybody. And so, or just cook these up, barbecue them up, something nice, so good. Do we have a stainless steel bowl?
Watch close. That's what you're doing next.
Green stainless steel bowls. That's where we'll start putting the fish.
What's that?
I was helping that lady, and I got the
when I'm doing this, I shoot 3 different bowls. One that's kind of like some scrappier pieces. But we can kind of mix it up. It doesn't have to be perfect. Everybody's looking for perfection here, fortunately. And so what I'm doing now is starting to get underneath these ribs, and some you know, if you watch at Taku Smokeries or something, these people just rip through these things, and you know, they're the professionals. So, when I'm doing this, I'm kind of pressing the blade of the knife up against the rib, and just kind of gently moving it along. And sometimes you can end up with kind of little cut marks. Don't worry about it. It's all good. It's all going to get smoked and yummy. And then, yeah, which part? Are you noticing?
All of it.
Oh, all of it. Okay. Yeah, it's kind of how you look at it. I think it's beautiful myself.
I do too.
And once you
I like fish.
yeah, once you start doing this, if you love to eat it, then I think that kind of changes things too. But you know, just like you know, we're not going to eat it at this point, and we're going to eat it once it's prepared and ready. One of the things you might notice, these things right here are just little parts of the fish, but there sometimes are worms. Most of the time there are worms in all of the fish that we have, and but then they die when we cook them, so we don't have to worry about that. And so I'm just going to put that there for either soup or crab bait. So at this point, you know, the ribs are off. Pretty happy with this. Pretty proud. This is a nice piece, and so I'm going to cut off this fin here, and this is definitely along the lines of some crab meat for us, and so and then this is where I'm just making sure that my knife doesn't go any further than this, but if you guys just make sure on your end that you don't come any closer than all this. When I teach camp, I talk about a safety circle, and so whenever we have our knives, we make sure that nobody's in our safety circle, but I'm just being super careful because we have such a big group. And so I'm just going to go like this, and cut this first bit of belly meat. I don't know if you know it or not, but belly meat's the best if you like oily meat, and so that I'm just going to do that. And these ones are going to need to be put on. They're going to need to be put on a rack because they're short like this. Okay, so now we're going to get to the stripping part, and in order to have something to hold on to, because it's very slippery, what you do is you kind of get the tip of the knife down here, and you get a hole cut through the skin, and then you got a finger hole, and the skin is so strong that you can do that. Now don't test it too much, but especially over the dirt. But now one thing to do, and I'm not going to take John's. Oh, there's John right there. Hey, John. You feel like showing how you do the... I
had a little bucket with my knives in it.
There's a stainless steel one right here, but that's not the bucket.
It's a pot.
On the pot? Is that the one? No. Okay. So I'm going to see if I can kind of do what John does a little bit here. But we all can. I'm kind of joking a little bit. This meat here, See, I'm kind of mounting it up a little bit. We end up with meat that's going to become burger. So we can have, and so that's what I'm kind of ending up with that a little bit, rather than a piece that we could actually use. What do you think on the thickness of this? We do have some the chum, which is going to be thicker.
Yeah.
But the thickness of this, we're doing the strips, that's not too good, right?
No, that's perfect, and that makes it's really critical, because if you make them too thick and you just cut strips without taking a few fillets and thinning them, pretty soon it'll start getting rancid inside of it really quickly, because we're doing a cold smoke, a traditional smoke, where you actually, the smoke isn't really hot until actually you get a coat on the outside of it, and then you can add the heat to it. So if you have it too thick, so to me, if you were making strips with that, that would be really wonderful. That would be just a perfect thickness.
All right, good stuff.
So what you do when it is really thick is we'll show you here pretty soon where we actually do some fillets off of it, and those fillets become, of course, you smoke it, or you brine it, smoke it, and in those pieces you can dry it and make dry fish out of it. And then, of course, the strips, you're making naivety, so it's still half, it's smoked, it's still raw. So you have to cook it or freeze it or put it away. So just understanding that the whole process, you end up with strips, you can end up with naivety, you can end up with dry fish, all in one big batch. So it's just how you would like to do it. So it's we're going to give you some advice and some how to do certain process, and you'll find out. You're going to try to manage your own style to manage your smokehouse. So we have a bigger smokehouse. Some people have smaller ones, and some people lay them down, some people hang them. So very exciting to share a lot of this. And it's by us just sharing and showing you all the different concepts of it. So there's actually quite a bit, yeah.
All right, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm just kind of eyeballing this a little bit. I'm thinking I'm going to do maybe 5 or so strips out of this, maybe 6. What do you think I'm sizing?
What I normally do is I go right down the middle, right down the center line, and then I split the other 2 right down the center. Then I have 4 strips.
4 and 4.
Now, there's really, no, go ahead. If you go into there's different styles. See, now you can take and make them thinner. I call them Eskimo strips. Up north, they have the really thin ones, and they put a little bit of smoke and flavor on it. Then they dry it. Then as they're drying, they really curl, and all that fat that's behind the skin, you know, so there's a lot of different cool styles. So if we're just going to go for the regular strips we're going to put in the jar, you know, that would be where I'd be shooting, was split it into 4 pieces. Yeah.
All right. And I'm going to do it my way a little bit. I'm going to choose to start on the end and just cut this middle one. I'm going to cut it the right-hand strip, so I'm pressing pretty firmly down, and I'm being safe with the knife, recognizing that this is the point where danger can happen with any sort of cutting thing, is that the blade can continue on. So we're making sure that nobody's behind you, making sure your leg is not behind you, just in case you slip, okay, y'all? And I didn't quite get that cut well enough there.
The skin is really tough.
Yeah.
And you'll realize, even though that you're cutting on a cutting board that's really soft, you'll realize your knife will get dull quick. So you'll see somebody, the second they get done with one fish, will sharpen clean it off. Of course, you want to clean off the metal and the materials off of your sharpener. That's beautiful. Look at that.
Well, and we'll show you how to do the strings and all that.
Pink is
Hi, Gabe. Where's your other half? Is he here somewhere? Oh, yeah.
All right. And so big ideas. I'm just gonna do either side. I'm noticing the cutting board's moving a little bit. That's okay. So there's another strip, and then I'm going to go right down the middle for this last one. And yeah, that's about the punchline. So we can do another demonstration, and or also folks can just get to cutting. I don't want to get in your way. We don't want to get in your way of doing whatever you want to be doing right now, okay? So let us know throughout today and then tomorrow. I just want to make a quick correction. Our intention is to be here from 10 until 2 tomorrow, just in case you heard a different hour. That's our intention. All right, there they are.
Do you mind if I cut the other one?
You please do.
Yeah, to show some different concepts here. Of course, Darren, I love the way he did. Did you go from this side?
Actually, I started on the tail.
Ah, yeah. So there's going to be all kinds of different ways to do salmon, and you'll see that for many of the different specialists. So I'm going to go in a different way. He went this way. I'm going to actually go in after making the backbone off. And a lot of times I get rid of the and I'll just do this right now, is this piece here. A lot of times you can hang that and smoke it, but it'll get in your way if you're going to be... So right now I'm just taking the backbone out. And I can feel that it's, when you work with your salmon, you're going to realize that if you want good product to come out of it, you don't, just think when they catch them, they have 10 days on ice that are out in the field before they bring. That's how long they can actually hold it there. So the sooner that you work on your salmon and making sure it's fresh and comes right out of there, it's going to be a lot easier to work with. When you start to get it and start hanging, it's going to get soft, and I can already kind of